think what we're left wondering at this point is Woody Johnson the problem, or was what Aaron Rodgers kind of wanted with him coming to the Jets the problem? And it's probably both. I think there was a nice hit piece put out on Woody Johnson. I couldn't find. I saw like these things about Woody Johnson nixed a trade for Jerry Jeudy. That Woody Johnson wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after he lost to the Broncos, and maybe the Rodgers thing was true. I don't know. The Jeudy thing, who knows? But there's a lot of information after Joe Douglas got fired that makes Woody Johnson look like a bottom 3 NFL owner. Like he's trying to dictate too much. And usually if an owner is trying to do that, it is a problem. Unless they are a football savant, which they rarely are, because they don't get to where they are by understanding football really well. They get to where they are by having a fuck ton of money, and that usually comes from being very good at some other form of business. So Jets fans, they're like, are we going to continue to be put in horrible situations because our owner can't just like chill? Or was bringing in Rodgers, maybe from a football perspective, the right move, but based on what we know in terms of like what Rodgers wants? And I'm not even saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I get like, if you've been a quarterback in the league as long as Aaron Rodgers, you're going to want some things done a certain way, and that's fine.
Same thing with Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady literally did the exact same thing.
It's totally fine. But if the results aren't there, then you take a big part of the blame, whether that's fair or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about a lot of things, because I think there's a lot of finger pointing, because there's folks within the Jets organization, or like I should say fans within the Jets organizations, that are like, hey, he needed to go, or this is just another problem here. And I've seen a bunch of different takes here. And I think that this shows how quickly people turn on an organization / front office / GM, what have you, because it was last year, 2 years ago, where Joe Douglas was a genius, and we know Brian Gutekunst was smart at all, and this was such a ripoff for the Packers, and oh man, got him for a 2nd round pick and all this crap. And the Packers are obviously impacted by this, right? And the Packers, if anything, are looking even better after what has happened this season. There's no one else really to blame, because I told you, and everybody told him, if this doesn't work out, people are going to lose their jobs. And we have now seen 2 major positions within the Jets organization fired. The only one who's not going to get fired is their owner, and is Woody Johnson, who I think kind of got wrapped up in, hey, this is an opportunity where we have an amazing defense, right? We even have a really good wide receiver as well. Let's go and try to win this entire thing. Because if you look at the Bucs, right, what was the one thing they had? They had the receivers, right? And they had Godwin, they had Mike Evans before Brady got there. But they had a kick-ass defense. Like, they had a really damn good defense. And so did the Jets. And I think heading into this scenario, we were like, okay, if Rodgers is healthy, he's going to play well. The offensive line's not that good. Maybe you need another target. That's why they're bringing in Alan Lazard. At least you have that chemistry there. But things fell apart so quickly, and I think they missed their window. And I think we're going to be sitting here wondering what could have been if Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt last year. Is it still the same outcome? I know the O-line was not good, but is it the same outcome maybe because the defense was better? And all these things come out. He gets hurt. You waste a season. The defense does not improve. Doesn't look like anything really improved for the Jets. And now you're sitting here going into week 12 without your head coach, without your GM, with now an older veteran quarterback that you're going to have to make a decision on. And heading into next year, there's no more optimism. It's, we got to tear it all down and figure out what the hell the future is going to be, because this was their last shot in terms of keeping that defense together, getting Aaron Rodgers in there, having the coaching staff in there. And it was just an epic fail. And at this point, you fired your head coach, fired GM. There's only one other person to look at, and it is your owner, because at the end of the day, that's your name on the team.
I'm talking about the man in the mirror.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are.
Ways.
Sound beautiful.
My thoughts are the Jets are screwed no matter what they do until they move on from Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
This is all right. This is Joe Douglas. You're right. In terms of finding talent in the draft, that's good. That's a lot of hits. All right. So Tom Brady goes to the Bucs. You referenced that, right?
Yeah.
That draft, the draft he went there, the Bucs hit a home run in selecting Tristan Wirfs.
Yep.
So they get one of the best tackles in the NFL.
In the game
one
right
of the
now.
best drafted tackles in the last like 5 years for sure.
I think so.
Already paired with a tremendous center. They had Jensen at the time. So their offensive line got better right as Tom Brady got there.
Yeah, Wirfs was an amazing selection.
And if the Jets had a top flight offensive line, I don't think we're having this conversation today. Because Aaron Rodgers hasn't been like lighting it up, but he hasn't been a bad quarterback.
Not god awful.
He's been ineffective at times.
They
started that last game with 5 3-and-outs, right?
Yes.
Like they couldn't convert a first down, and then they clawed back into it. They made it a competitive game. He's not playing stupid football.
No.
He's not the Aaron Rodgers who was winning MVPs, but on the field, he's not necessarily the problem.
Right.
After Saleh leaves, the thing that was the sure thing with the Jets in that defense, like you also mentioned, it's just gotten not as good. It's declined. If Rodgers comes back, the Jets have to figure out a way to make the offensive line very good. They have the weapons on offense to do it now. You've got Breece Hall, you've got Devontae Adams, and you have Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson's played pretty well throughout most of this season.
They got him right now, too, and they can't do diddly squat.
No, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you tweeted about this yesterday, saying, like, the next guy they need to come in and say, like, hey, we need to get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think if Rodgers comes back, and I think that's a big if Rodgers comes back, because he might be sick of this, too.
Sure.
They're still going to have to draft a quarterback. What are you going to do? You're going to go 3 years into this and be like, no, let's still try to build around Aaron Rodgers, even though now we have a new head coach and a new GM. I think you can have Aaron Rodgers, but you have to draft a quarterback behind him, because otherwise you're giving up another year with somebody else's scheme. But yeah, I don't think that's happening. And if the Jets do that, if Aaron goes, I want to come back again next year. No, let's really try. Let's go all in, right? Man, like, I don't know. And again,
who can they get right now, too? They got to keep losing at this point.
Arthur's expectations 1,000,000%.
There's 1, 2, 3 teams we know 100% will be interested in a quarterback.
Yep.
Maybe 4. Maybe Jacksonville becomes sellers if they do maintain the number 1 spot there.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of people drafting before them in terms of drafting a quarterback.
Correct.
But yeah, you have to be like, you need a GM who's not going to be beholden to Aaron Rodgers. And we watched the Broncos do that mid-Russell Wilson era. They brought in Sean Payton, who did not give 2 fucks about Russell Wilson at all. If anything, he's like, get your office out of here. You're going to listen to what I have to say. And now I want to bench you. And you're playing better than you were last year.
Yeah.
You're playing better. And I want you on the bench. Like, they need somebody with that type of confidence. And I'm not saying Sean Payton's perfect, but like, you've got to have somebody who's in charge there. And I think Robert Saleh was too complacent. I think Joe Douglas was too complacent. And the one thing Joe Douglas took some misses on free agency, right? So you've got to hit on both phases.
Sure.
Especially when it's these older quarterbacks now, and you've got this really small window. You don't have time to build with those guys.
At the end of the day, the one person who's not going to get punished for this is Woody Johnson.
Yeah.
Because he is still going to be a billionaire. He is still going to own the football team. And regardless who the GM is, regardless who that coach is, regardless who the QB is, it doesn't matter. So even though at his recommendation to his GM, and telling him to his head coach, "This is who you're going to coach." He's the only one who's not going to face consequences for this football mistake.
Yeah. And all I want to know is if Woody Johnson actually wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
That tells me everything about how little that guy knows about football. If after 4 weeks through this season, if he really thought bringing in Tyrod Taylor would help them win football games, that man should not be allowed to own a football team. And I think Tyrod Taylor's a fine backup to have. But the ripple effect that would have had on your locker room, on your competence as an organization, if he actually wanted to do that, and Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they had to talk him out of it. Jets, I'm sorry. I'm apologizing for you now and for the future. Because I can look at Aaron Rodgers and that team, and I can say he's not playing his best football.
Sure.
But benching him right now ain't going to fix it. And I fully support moving on from Rodgers after this year if you want.
Sure.
Or you talk to Rodgers and be like, we're going to draft a guy. Are you going to be a leader who helps develop and cultivate that guy? And I think Rodgers would. I think if we've learned anything about Aaron Rodgers when Jordan Love was there, wasn't a dick to Jordan, right? We know Kurt Benkert, who was on that roster, loves Aaron Rodgers and how he treated players. And I think you can disagree with some shit about Rodgers, but players fucking love that guy. They love playing for that guy. So if you drafted a rookie and Rodgers was made aware of it and was like, I will help that kid out, then that would be a good situation to go into as a rookie if you were wanting to bring him back. You know what I'm saying?
I think the issue is people want to know this question, Perna. I think the problem with that though, Brandon, is like he wasn't brought there for that.
No, he wasn't brought there.
And I think that's why I don't know if he comes back. Because let me put it this way.
Sure.
There's two options here, right? Oh, technically three.
Maybe Frosty. Maybe.
One, he retires, and then that's just the end of that. Two, he goes, all right, I'm going to go back one more year and develop, and let's see if we can just go on a run and make something happen. I don't know how likely that is. Three, he goes to a different team, but I know there's like the jokes of he's going to fulfill the Packer. You know,
no, he's going to go to the Steelers. The Steelers will move on from Russ and Justin, and then they will take Aaron Rodgers.
But I'm going to be honest, who is trading for him? Like there are teams.
The Steelers will get the Jets to pay 95% of his salary, just like the Broncos are doing for Russ. And the Steelers are going to win back-to-back Super Bowls with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers just to show how stupid the Broncos and Jets were.